guys, welcome back to another episode of Off the Shelf. I'm your host, Tim HD, and this time when we found Off the Shelf was...
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Do you believe in the boogeyman?
No.
Whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
No! She's the only one who can stop it. If she fails...
I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy.
no one will survive.
A Nightmare on Elm Street, released in 1984, a film by Wes Craven, starring Heather Langenkamp, Johnny Depp, and John Saxon. This film is obviously very impactful. It is a very legendary film in horror and just films in general. A very iconic horror film, with one of the most iconic slasher villains ever, Freddy Krueger. And I know this might come to a shock. This might come to a shock to a lot of you, as a shock to a lot of you. But I have actually never seen this film. Yeah, I know. I'm a so-called horror enthusiast, and I've never even seen this movie. I think it's a crime that I hadn't seen this movie till now, even though I knew everything that was going to happen in the movie, because obviously it's a Nightmare on Elm Street. You know, I've heard of it, I've heard of all the stuff that happens. So it flew by pretty much. It was very short, because usually, like, movies at the time are, like, especially horror movies, are always like an hour and a half, 90 minutes. This movie was no different. And, yeah, just obviously very enjoyable. Didn't really have many complaints about it. It's not perfect, obviously. No movie is perfect. But, yeah, I just really enjoyed myself all the way through. You know, just really, really liked it. And the kills are great. The special effects were fucking spectacular. I mean, especially for the time. I mean, everybody's talked about it, but, like, the shot where the girl, Tina, she's fucking going up and rolling over the ceiling. And I actually listened to the commentary, and, like, the way they did it is they rotated the room. And the guy that was actually in the foreground that made it look even more believable, he was there, and, like, he was strapped to, like, wasn't he, like, strapped to the corner, I think? Yeah, he was strapped to the corner, and they to even keep it from his hair, like, moving around, like, it was, I think they, like, either they did something to keep his hair, like, stationary on his head to make it look like he was actually just like sitting in the corner. Like, that was really cool. And but yeah, that was probably one of the most iconic shots from the movie and one of the most iconic, like, moments of the movie. But obviously there's the claw in the bathroom, Freddy in the bathroom, in the bathtub, and then there's the blood fountain, the Johnny Depp blood fountain, which is obviously amazing. I mean, gotta love a blood fountain. What's not to love about a blood fountain? And there's also the shot with Freddy in the wall, and then there's the shot with Freddy through the like, bed. There's a lot of really, really great shots in this movie, and for good reason. The film was excellently shot, and I think every shot was interesting to look at, and I think that's just one of the strong suits of 80s horror films, is usually the shots are fucking spectacular. I think that's just, like, a problem with modern films nowadays, is, you know, they don't have the great, I mean, aside from, like, maybe the movies like A24 and, like, the more, like, independent stuff, but now, like, more mainstream movies don't have the best cinematography, and maybe they're still, like, serviceable, not to say they're awful, but they're just not as interesting to look at as some other, like, older films, you know. I'm not trying to be an old man, you know, yelling at a cloud here, but... Now, I think the main problem with modern cinematography is, I mean, obviously one of the obvious... I see obviously a lot in this review. But I think one of the main reasons, in my opinion, why modern cinematography is not as good as old school cinematography for the most part is because of mainly an overuse of CGI, like CGI artificial shots, and just a lack of creativity and interesting shots that, like, sometimes while I'm watching, like, a good movie nowadays and I see a shot, and I'm like, wow, that shot is amazing. Usually I'll, like, say out loud to myself, that shot is fucking amazing. because I don't see as many amazing shots nowadays, which kind of sucks, because I think one thing I love about movies, like an underappreciated art form about movies, is cinematography. You know, I love the hints and the, like, I don't know much about, like, you know, telling a story with cameras and lighting, but I think that's a really fucking cool idea. You know, taking ideas and, like, maybe using a color to indicate a feeling or emotion the characters are going through, or, like, a tone of a scene. That's really fucking cool to me. And, like, maybe, like, a character's, like, level in the foreground, like, if they're high or low, you know? Like, that stuff is really cool, and I think cinematography is, as I said, a really underappreciated, and I think nowadays it's not helping the reputation of cinematography, because now people just kind of overlook it. And I think back in the 80s, like, cinematography I just think was a lot more respected, maybe not by the mainstream audience, but by filmmakers. You know, like, cinematography, really, they were, like, going outside the box and really experimenting with shots they could do. And I'm not saying that you need to really get overzealous and ambitious with your shots, because that can also work to a detriment in your film. Like, there's a movie I know, Final Girl, which will give you whiplash because of how spinny the shots are. You know what I mean? If you're too ambitious with the camera, it might be a detriment to you. If you're too creative, it might not work. But you have to have a good balance of creativity and logic. You know what I mean? Or, like, just basicness and creativity, and you can create amazing things with the camera work. And I think this movie really, like, shows the excellence of, like, horror film cinematography especially, and just a lot of the shots with Freddy. Obviously, the iconic claw shot is amazing. As I described the other ones, just, there's so many good shots in this film, and yeah, I feel like if I wanted to, I could do a whole video on, like, just talking about shots cinematography, and how, like, some shots I love for movies. But yeah, honestly, if you have the time, just gotta, like, look up some amazing shots for movies, and, you know, maybe you'll understand why I love it so much. But yeah, very, very amazingly crafted movie, especially from the soundtrack is also really good. Being an 80s horror movie, that's basically a given. Then obviously Freddy is a great slasher. I mean, also not really a big surprise, Wes Craven. And the ending is also, I think that's a little controversial nowadays, but I still like it. I think I like it leaves up to interpretation. Was it real? Was it not? Was it all a dream? You know, has Freddy just been fucking with her the whole time? You know, makes you think. I like the ending a little bit, you know. I think it's a nice little gotcha moment at the end of the movie. But yeah, I think that the strongest part of this film is just everything ties together, you know. It's just so well made, and it's perfect in length to where the conclusion hits at the perfect point. You know, I think the conclusion is just very, like, where she fights Freddy and she does all these traps, and it's just really, really good. And then the big, like, twist, not maybe, would you consider it a twist? Like, a bit of a twist, like, oh, Freddy's not dead, you know, is it a dream, is it not a dream, you know, stuff like that. Personally, I do think that, not personally, but I think after this film, I mean, even if it will, yeah, definitely watching the other Nightmare on Elm Street films. After this one, I don't know when I'll get to them, but I know I will watch them someday. There's a lot of them, so I'm going to have to burn through those eventually. But yeah. Yeah, amazing film. The acting was great. I did have one problem with it, though. There was one problem that really was prevalent to me. Some of the ADR in the film was a little distracting and a little bit off. There was only, like, 2 scenes I really noticed the pretty bad ADR, but, yeah, that was a little distracting, but it didn't keep me unfocused for a little while. Then I got back into the film after, like, 30 seconds or so. But it was a little distracting. Not by much. Sorry. But, yeah. Super classic film, super enjoyable, and very legendary, you know, in the grand scheme of things. One of Wes Craven's best, in my opinion. Maybe not his greatest film, but it's up there. He's made, obviously, so many classics, it's hard to really tell which is his best movie, you know? But yeah, absolute classic. So, I think I'd rate this film an 8.5. I don't care if that's controversial. It probably isn't. That's still a high rating. But, yeah. Yeah, I think I've said all I need to say. I think I've said my piece. So, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you like it. Share with friends. Subscribe. There's notifications on. Comment down below how much you liked it. And I've been Time HD. Signing off. And I'm coming for you. If only add the glove and make it look better. We should have bought the glove at Spirit Halloween. Maybe we should buy it this year. Maybe. Because, I mean, maybe I don't think we're going to review all of them by the time it's October.
Do you have any other Freddy catchphrases to say?
Bitch. I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy.